All right, welcome back to Boring Reviews. Nick here.
Jodi there.
I was trying to think of something to call myself, but I could literally think of nothing, so I just went with the old Nickalicious. I mean, you can be called that, but to call yourself that, that's pretty presumptuous.
Nickalicious.
I'm not sure anyone else needs to hear that, but I like the name. If anyone else I know calls me that, you're dead. But that was not a threat. It was a promise. We're going to go ahead and check out some QI.
Quite interesting.
Key. And we're checking out who discovered Australia. Australia, mate. It is interesting if you think about accents, because the Australian accent is obviously different than the English accent, right? English accents are different all throughout the country. But...
all throughout the world, too?
No, different parts of England is what I meant.
Oh, yeah.
Like the English accent.
We have an English accent. Well, I guess American accent, whatever. I get it.
England. But
I get it.
It's interesting how I'm assuming people in England first inhabited Australia, besides the natives, besides the indigenous. But I would assume those that transported over there spoke with the English accent. Where did the accent come from? You can still say, what about the American accent? That completely changed, and you're absolutely right about that. Why do accents change in different regions?
You know, I don't know how true this is, but I was once told, and again, I don't know how true this is, but I was once told that the English actually had more of an American accent, but when they kind of started getting rid of the class systems, like they weren't so prominent, then they started talking different to basically distinguish themselves. Exactly.
Ooh, I wonder what our audience thinks about that.
I don't know. You guys tell us if you're from England. I'm curious. But I mean, yeah, English is spoken all throughout the world, and there's a bunch of different accents for all the different English. I mean, think of Jamaica and the Jamaican accent.
Yeah, man. So we're going to go ahead and check this out. We're going to see who did it, who done it. If you like our reaction anyway, please don't forget to
like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell so you can be aware of our next uploaded video. And
don't forget to done it. Speaking of done it, I say it all the time in my class, like speaking of, and then I say something that makes no sense, and every single time they're just like, their minds are blown. That doesn't make any sense. Exactly. Here we sense.
Who discovered Australia?
The Aborigines.
Well, yes.
James Cook.
Oh, Joe, I'm so sorry. No, apart from the Aborigines, it was the Chinese who reached it as early as 1432.
Wow. Makes sense.
Cook arrived, James Cook, in 1770, not only was he not first, he wasn't a captain either. He was Lieutenant Cook, and nor was he the first European. The Dutch had got there 150 years before that. Nor was he even the first Englishman, who was William Dampier in 1688.
What's wrong with the Chinese and the Dutch?
The Dutch have discovered almost everything first, but they're just thought of as being people, homosexuals who smoke joints. Actually, there's a lot more to them than that. A lot more than the Dutch.
But what is it with the Chinese that they went round really early on and then never went anywhere, to stay at home and bred ferociously?
Oh my God.
We're wandering happily around the globe, and this is a good thing, but I'll just return us to Australia. It has, of course, been inhabited by Aborigines for at least 40,000 years, possibly as many as 60,000. So if anyone gets the credit, it should be them. But what nationality were the original Aborigines? Yes?
They came across a land bridge which was later separated by shifting of tectonic plates. So they will have come from Southeast Asia, probably. So I would say they were Chinese.
I know what you think. It's certainly true, isn't it? Australia was connected.
Separated, which is why they have marsupials. And why they have all their own brands of lager.
Exactly. I want you to think not Australian. The first Aboriginals were not Australian or anything to do with Australia. Where was the term Aborigine first used for peoples?
Was it in the Isle of Wight?
A wild stab. It could so easily have been right. No, it wasn't.
It's the word for the indigenous population.
The origin, yes. The original Aborigines lived in the part of Italy where Rome now stands. They were called Aborigines. And so it's for some reason has stuck most with the Aboriginal Australasians, but there are Aboriginal Canadians. You could call the American Indians or Native Americans, you could call them Aboriginals if you wanted.
You could, but it was more fun to call them Redskins.
Yes. I wouldn't try it though in America. No. You'd have your balls turned into a small purse.
small purse.
Very well.
Not good.
What does
A very big purse, I think you'll find.
Yeah, there you go. I was waiting for that.
And have my balls turned into a rucksack.
Oh, golly.
Yeah, I mean, for those that don't know, there was a football team for the longest time called the Washington Redskins. And I just liked the name because that's what I knew growing up, Redskins, as a football team, not as making fun of Native
Derogatory.
Americans or derogatory. Thank you. Now they're called the Commanders, which makes sense because that's where the White House is at, Washington, D.C., Commander-in-Chief. But very, very interesting. I had no idea the Chinese were the first and the Dutch were the second.
Yeah. And that neither one of them really held on to the land. They just...
But see, that I can understand, especially for the Chinese. And this is not, I know nothing about China's history. I know, shocker, right? But this is just my thought process. If I'm China and we have Australia that is relatively close, and we go and visit and we're like, it's kind of hot down here. And I don't know what the climate is in China. Again, I know nothing about it. And so they go, it's kind of hot down here. And there's these like bugs and whatnot. Not for me. And they think to themselves, when someone's like, excuse me, emperor or sir, there's a lot of land here. I hear land's a good thing. Should we maybe keep a few people outpost? Listen, we can always come back if we want to. It's like that whole adage. We can always do it later. It's right. Who else is going to come down here for crying out loud? Never went back. Because then like 50 years later, when those guys were like really in charge and really old, didn't you say we can go back to Australia? I really don't want to go. That's how I see it.
Well, and what's interesting, too, is that of all the land around there, Australia is such a large continent, but so much of it is inhabited because it's just desert and dry.
But there's something, and we live in Nevada, and I would never call Nevada, Las Vegas, the desert beautiful. There's beautiful aspects that we took pictures in the desert, and they looked really nice.
Yes,
but
I've always 7 shades of beige.
I've always been enamored by Australia. So my whole thing about the Chinese, like I don't want to go back. That wasn't me making fun of Australia at all. I still at one point I'm going to visit Australia.
Heck yes, we are.
Yes, I'm fascinated by it. I think it's awesome,
New Zealand, too.
And not just because of Crocodile Dundee, but that was one of my favorite movies as a kid. But just the whole landscape, just the whole urban or the rural, all that kind of stuff. Got to check it out. And you can't check it all out in just one vacation. But we visited England. We'd love to go to Australia. But I can just see people like, we'll go check it out later. It's not a big deal. Well, later never came, apparently. Yep. But very, very interesting. Didn't know that the Aborigines in Australia were originally Italian.
Rome area.
They were Italian, mate.
Cool.
But we learned a whole lot. She learned more than she wanted to. If you like our reaction, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Come back tomorrow for another video. And until next time.
Good luck with your ball sack.